Chapter 3 The Keeper of Keys. Boom! They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. Where's the cannon? He asked stupidly. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a riffle in his hands. Now they knew what had been in the long, thin package he had brought with them. Who's there? He shouted. I warned you. I'm armed. There was a pause. Then, smash! The door was hit shut such force that it swung clean off its hinges and with a defeating crash landed flat on the floor. A giant of a man standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy man of hair and a wild, tangled beard, but you could make out his eyes glinting like black beetles under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head had just brushed the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into its frames. The noise of the storm outside dropped a little. He turned to look at them all. Couldn't make us a cup of tea, could ya? It's not been as easy. He strode over to the sofa where Dudley sat frozen with fear. Budge up, you great lump, said the stranger. Dudley squeaked and ran to hide behind his mother, who was crouching, terrified, behind Uncle Vernon. And here's Harry, said the giant. Harry looked up into the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw that the beetle eyes were crinkled in a smile. Last time I saw you, you was only a baby, said the giant. You look a lot like your dad, but you've got your mum's eyes. Uncle Vernon made a funny, rasping voice. I demand that you leave at once, sir, he said. You are breaking and entering. Ah, shut up, Dursley, you great prune, said the giant. He reached over the back of the sofa, jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's rubber, and threw it into a corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden. Anyway, Harry, said the giant, turning his back on the Dursleys, a very happy birthday to God. Got some for ye, her. I might have sat on it at some point, but it'll taste all right. From an inside pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled slightly. He squashed. Harry opened it in with trembling fingers. Inside was a large, sticky chocolate cake with happy birthday written on it, green icing. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the words got lost on the way to his mouth, and what he said instead. Who are you? The giant chuckled. True, I haven't got to introduce herself. Rubeus Hagrid, keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts. He held an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. What about that tea, then, he said, rubbing his hands together. I'd not say to turn some are stronger. If you've got in mind, his eyes fell on the empty grate with the shriveled chip bags and he snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but then he drew back a second later. There was a roaring fire there. It filled the whole damp hut, flickering light, and Harry felt the warmth wash over him as he sunk into a hot bath. The giant sat back down on the sofa, which sagged under his weight, and began taking all sorts of things out of the pockets of his coat. A copper kettle, a squashy package of sausages, a poker, a teapot, several chipped mugs, and a bottle of some amber liquid that he took a swig from before starting to make tea. Soon the hut was full of the sound and smell of sizzling sausage. Nobody said a thing while the giant was working, but as he slid the first 6 fat, juicy, slightly burned sausages from the poker, Dudley fidgeted a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, Don't touch anything he gives you, Dudley. The giant chuckled darkly. You great pudding of a son done need fattening anymore, Dursley. Don't worry. He passed the sausages to Harry, who was hungry. He had never tasted anything so wonderful, but he still couldn't take his eyes off the giant. Finally, as nobody seemed about to explain anything, he said, I'm sorry, but I still don't really know who you are. The giant took a gulp of tea and whipped his mouth with the back of his hands. Call me Hagrid, he said. Everyone does. And like I told you, I'm keeper of keys at Hogwarts. You'll know all about Hogwarts, of course. No, said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. Sorry, Harry said quickly. Sorry, barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursleys, who shrank back into the windows. It's them as should be sorry. I knew you weren't getting your letters, but I never thought you would even know about Hogwarts, for crying out loud. Did you never wonder where your parents learned it all? All what? Asked Harry. All what? Hagrid thundered. Just wait 1 second. He had leapt into his feet. In his anger, he seemed to fill the whole hut. The Dursleys were cowering against the wall. Do you mean to tell me, he growled at the Dursleys, that this boy knows nothing about you? Anything? Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. I know some things, he said. I can, do math and stuff. But Hagrid simply waved his wand and said, about our world. I mean your world. My world, your parents' world. What world? Hagrid looked as if he was about to explode. Dursley, he boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounded like mimble wibble. Hagrid stared widely at Harry. But you must know about your mum and dad, he said. I mean, they're famous. You're famous. What? My mum and dad weren't famous, were they? You don't know? You don't know? Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a bewildered stare. You don't know what you are, he said finally. Uncle Vernon suddenly found his voice. Stop, he commanded. Stop right there. I forbid you to tell the boy anything. A braver than Vernon Dursley, who would qualified under the furious look now gave him when Hagrid spoke his every syllable, trembled with rage. You never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for him. I was there. I saw Dumbledore leave it in Dursley, and you kept it from him all these years. Keep what from me? Said Harry eagerly. Stop! I forbid you! Yelled Uncle Vernon in panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp of horror. Go boil your heads, both of you, said Hagrid. Harry, you're a wizard. There was a silence inside the hut. Only the tea and the whistling wind could be heard. I'm a what? A wizard, of course, said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned and never sank, and a thumping good on, I'd say, once you've been trained up a bit. With a mom and dad like yours, what else would you have been? I reckon it's about the time you read your letter. Harry stretched out his hand and last to take the yellowish envelope addressed in emerald green to Mr. H. Potter, the floor hut on the rock. The see he pulled out on the letter and read, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Headmaster of Dumbledore, Order of Merlin, First Class, Grand Sorc, Chief Warlock, Supreme Migwop, International Confed of Wizards. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have accepted at Hogwarts School in Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Questions exploded inside Harry's head like fireworks, and he couldn't decide which to ask first. After a few minutes, he stammered, "What does it mean? They await my owl." "Galloping gorgons. That reminds me," said Hagrid, clapping a hand to his forehead with enough force to knock over a cart horse, and from yet another pocket inside his overcoat he pulled an owl, a real live, rather ruffled-looking owl, a long quill, and a roll of parchment. With his tongue between his teeth, he scribbled a note that Harry could read upside down. "Dear Professor Dumbledore," given Harry his letter, "taking him to buy his things tomorrow. Weather's horrible. You're well, Hagrid." Hagrid rolled up the note, gave it to the owl, which clamped it in its brakes, went to the door, and threw the owl out in the storm. Then he came back and sat down as though this was normal as talking on the telephone. Harry realized his mouth was open, and it quickly. "Where was I?" said Hagrid. But that at moment Uncle Vernon, still ashen face but looking very angry, moved into the firelight. "He's not going," he said. Hagrid grunted. "I'd like to see a great muggle like you stop him," he said. "A what?" said Harry, interested. "A muggle," said Hagrid. "It's what we call non-magical folk like them. And it's your bad luck. You grew up in a family of the biggest muggles I ever laid eyes on." "We swore we took him and we'd put a stop to that rubbish," said Uncle Vernon. "We swore we'd stop him out of him, wizard." "Indeed." "You knew," said Harry. "You knew I'm a wizard?" "Knew," shrieked Aunt Petunia. "Knew, of course, we knew. How could you not be dratted, sister being what she was? Oh, she got a letter just like that and disappeared off to that school and came home every vacation with her pockets full of frog spawn, turning teacups into rats. I was the only one to see her for what she was. A freak! Before my mother and father, and oh no, it was Lily, this and Lily, they were proud of having a witch in this family." She stopped to draw a deep breath and then went ratting on. It seemed she had been wanting to say all of this for years. "Then she met that Potter at school and then left and got married and had you, and of course I knew she'd be the same, just as strange as abnormal. And then, if you please, she went and got herself blown up, and we got landed with you." Harry, gone as soon as he found his voice, said, "Blown up. You told me they died in a car crash." "A car crash!" roared Hagrid, jumping so angrily that the Dursleys scuttled back to their corner. "How could a car crash kill Lily and James Parton? It's an outrage. A scandal." Harry Potter does not knowing his own story when every kid in our world knows his name. "But why? What happened?" Harry asked urgently. The anger faded from his face. He looked suddenly anxious. "I never expected this," he said in a low, worried voice. "I had no idea when Dumbledore told me that he might be trouble getting hold of you, how much you didn't know. Harry, I don't know if I'm the right person to tell you, but someone's gotta. You can't go off to Hogwarts not knowing." He threw a dirty look at the Dursleys. "Well, it's best you know something, as much as I can tell you mine. I can't tell you everything. It's a great mystery of parts of it." He sat down, stared into the fire a few seconds, and then said, "It begins, I suppose, with a person called, but it's incredible you don't know his name. Everyone in our world knows who." "Well, I don't know, like saying the name. If I can help it, no one knows." "Why not?" Gulping gargoyles, Harry. "People are still cared blindly. This is difficult. See, there was this wizard who went bad as you could go. Worse than worse. His name was—" Hagrid gulped, but there no words could come out. "Could you write it down?" Harry suggested. "No, I can't spell it." "All right." "Voldemort," Hagrid shuddered. "Don't make me say it again anyway. This wizard, about 20 years ago, started looking for followers. Got them too. Some were afraid. Some just wanted a bit. His power. His cause was getting himself down. Power. All right. Dark days. Harry didn't know who to trust her. Didn't dare to get friendly with strange wizards or witches. Terrible things happened. He was taken over. Of course, some stood up to him, and he killed him horribly. One of the only safe places left was Hogwarts, reckoned Dumbledore's. The only one you know who wasn't afraid of, didn't dare try to take the school, none just them anyway. Now your mom and dad were as good as a witch and wizard as I ever knew, head boy and girl at Hogwarts in their day. Suppose the mystery is why you know who never tried to get him on his side before. Probably they knew we're too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could persuade him. Maybe he just wanted him to get out of the way. All anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you was all living on Halloween 10 years ago, was just a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty spotted handkerchief and blew his nose with a sound like a foghorn. Sorry, he said, but that's it. But it's that sad. You knew your mom and dad and nicer people, yet couldn't find anyway. You know who killed him, and this is the real mystery of the whole thing. He tried to kill you too, wanted to make a clean job of it, I suppose, or maybe he just killed him. He just killed like killing by then. But he couldn't stop doing. But he couldn't do it. Never wondered how you got that mark on your forehead. That was no ordinary cut. That what you get when a powerful evil curse touches you. Took care of your mommy and dad and your house, but it didn't work on you, and that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill him. No one would ever accept you, and he likes some of the best witches and wizards of the age. McNickens, the Bones, Pruitts, and you was only baby, and you lived. Something very painful was going on in Harry's mind as Hagrid's story came to a close. He saw again the blinding flash of green light more clearly than he had ever trembled it before, and remembered something else for the first time in his life. A cold, cruel laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from the ruined house on Dumbledore's orders, brought you to his lot, load of his old tush, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten that the Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon certainly seemed to have got back his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid, and his fists were clenched. Now you listen here, boy, he snarled. I accept there's something strange about you. Probably nothing a good beating wouldn't have cured. And as for all this was about your parents, well, they were weirdos. No denying it. And the world's better off without them, in my opinion. Asked they for all they got, getting mixed up with these wizarding types, just what I accepted. Always they knew they'd come to a sticky end, but then at the moment, Hagrid leapt from the sofa and drew a barred pink umbrella from the inside his coat, pointing this at Uncle Vernon like a wizard's sword. He said, I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. One more word, in danger of being speared on the end of an umbrella by a bearded giant. But Uncle Vernon's courage failed. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. That's better, said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back down on the sofa, which this time sagged right down to the floor. Harry, meanwhile, still had questions to asked hundreds of them. But what happened to Sorry, I mean, you know who. Good question. Harry disappeared, vanished. Same night he tried to kill her. Makes you even more famous. The biggest mystery. He was getting more and more powerful. Why'd he go? Some say he died. Cost one in my opinion. Don't know if he had enough human left in him to die. Some say he's still out there, biding his time. But I don't believe it. People who was on his side, he came back in tours hours. Some of them kind of came out kind of trances. Don't reckon they could have done if he was coming back. Most of reckon still out. Still there was, but lost his powers. Too weakened to carry on. Cause something about you finish him, Harry. There was something going on that night. He had counted. I do know that what is what no one does, but something about you stumped him all right. Hagrid looked at Harry with warmth and respect blazing in his eyes, but Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, while quite sure they had been a horrible mistake, a wizard him. How could he possibly be? He spent his life being clouded by Dudley, bullied by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. If he really were a wizard, why hadn't they had been turned into warty toads? Every time they tried to lock him in his cupboard, if he'd once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been able to kick him around like a football? Hagrid, he said quietly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I can be a wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard. It never made things happen when you were scared or angry. Harry looked into the fire. Now he came to think about it. Every odd thing that had ever made his aunt and uncle furious him and happened when he and Harry had been upset or angry, chased by Dudley's gang. He had somehow found himself out of their reach, dreading going to school with that ridiculous haircut. He managed to make it grow back, and the very last time Dudley had hidden, he had got his revenge without realizing he was going to do it. He hadn't set a boa constrictor on him. Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Harry was positively beaming at him. See, Hagrid, Harry, not a wizard. You wait. You'll be famous at Hogwarts. But Uncle Vernon wasn't going to give in without a fight. Haven't I told you he's not going, he hissed. He's going to Stonewall High, and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters, and he needs all sorts of rubbish spellbooks and wands, and if he wants to go to a great muggle like you won't stop him, growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter. So going in to go Hogwarts, you're mad. He's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world. 7 years there, he won't know himself. He'll be with youngest of his own sort for a change, and he'll be the greatest headmaster Hogwarts ever had. Albus Dumbledore. I'm not paying for those crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. He had finally gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and whirled it over his head. Never threaten, insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. He brought the umbrella swishing down through the air to a point at Dudley. There was a flash of violent lights, a sound like a firecracker, a sharp squeal, and the next second, Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hands clapping over his flat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned around back of them, he saw a curly pig's tail poking through a hole in his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid slammed the door behind them. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella and stroked his beard. "Shouldn't you lost me?" he said ruefully, but it didn't work anyway. Mean to turn her into a pig. And I suppose he was supposed to so much like a pig anyway. There wasn't much left for her to do. He cast a sideways look at Harry under his bushy eyebrows. "Be grateful if you didn't mention that to anyone at Hogwarts," he said. "I'm not supposed to do magic." Started speaking. "I was allowed to do a bit, follow you and get letters to you and stuff. One of those reasons I was so keen to take on the job." "Why aren't you supposed to do magic?" asked Harry. "Oh, well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled, to tell you the truth. In my third year, they snapped me wand in half and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay on the gamekeeper." "Great man, Dumbledore." Why you were expelled?" "It's getting late, so we've got a lot to do tomorrow," said Hagrid. "Gotta get up town and get you all and that." He took off his black coat. He took off his thick black coat and threw it to Harry. "You can keep under that," he said. "Don't mind if it wriggles and bits. I think I still got a couple of dormice in one of those pockets."